Is this like good? Like, is this good? Is it too dark? I don't know. Can I fix that? Yeah, opening the blinds will make it less dark, Kaylee. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing a video I like to call the ultimate guide to Taylor Jenkins Reid novels. I recently finished my very last Taylor Jenkins Reid book, and I have read every book in her universe, and I'm obsessed. I think that I'm a character written by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Like, there's no other author that speaks to me the way she does. She is my favorite author at the moment, and I just love this one. So today we're just gonna hang out, talk about books. I'm gonna give you a rundown on each of her books, summaries, my thoughts on them, some tropes in them, and basically where you should start and who I recommend each book for. I'm gonna split this up into two categories because I feel like Taylor Jenkins Reid has two different categories of novels. She has her like marriage-based novels, and then she has her strong, powerful female character-based novels. So we'll split it up into those and get started. I'm waiting for the truck to pass. Little disclaimer, Taylor Jenkins Reid makes me scared for marriage. I don't even know why. No, I do know why. Her books just are very scary. Like, marriages just don't work out in her books, and that scares me. We're gonna talk about Forever Interrupted by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Do I have to say who it's by? They're all by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So this book follows the character Elsie, and she meets this guy named Ben, and they fall like dramatically in love. They're like soulmates. They fall in love with each other, and they end up actually eloping after not too long. And their lives are gonna be perfect. They found their true loves. They're gonna be great. Then one day, Ben goes out to buy, I think it was cereal or something, for Elsie, and he's on his bike and he gets hit by a car and dies. Literally like 9 days into their marriage. Elsie, all of a sudden, who thought she had her life figured out, her man figured out, all of a sudden she doesn't have that life anymore, and that man is gone. So she goes to the hospital and everything, and she meets her mother-in-law, who she doesn't know because their love was so sudden and their marriage was so sudden. And obviously the mother-in-law is like, why the frick are you sad? You barely knew my son, like, go away. And they end up like hating each other, and they're both dealing with this trauma, and they only have each other, who they just don't get along with. So it's kind of like a healing book. It's really sad. Basically, this girl thought like she found her soulmate, and he was just ripped apart from her. Like, this book isn't really much of a romance because it's more based on the connection between Elsie and then Ben's mother. So, and it's like a trauma healing kind of book, but it is really good and I do recommend it. It's not my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid book because I do like seeing like couples interact and everything, but there was none of that in this, and I'm not like really connected with Elsie's character, but I do appreciate a good like character development story. Next, we're gonna move on to a book I just read maybe about a week ago, and it's Maybe in Another Life by, okay, stop saying who the book's by, you know who the book's by. This novel follows Hannah Martin. She's 29, she has no idea what she's doing with her life. She has no like career path, no husband, nothing. She was in a relationship with this guy who was like married, and she kind of knew he was married, but she like kept the relationship going, and she like knows she's a bad person for that. Like, she has regrets and everything, so she ends up moving back to, I think, LA with her best friend Gabby, like where her best friend Gabby lives, because she's like, I need someone there for me. So she moves there with her friend, and she ends up running into Ethan, who was her high school sweetheart, and they broke up, not really like given a reason why. They just kind of ended up not together. They end up at this like get together party thing one night, and he says, hey Hannah, want to come back with me to my place? So the story follows there's two different storylines. One, if she says no and ends up going with Gabby, and the second one of if she says yes and ends up going with Ethan, and how her life turns out based on that decision. So it follows two different plot points. Every chapter switches back and forth. I've never read a novel like this before, and it was very like interesting to see, because I'm very much a person who believes in the universe making things happen for a reason, and this book kind of showed me like, what if there's multiple endings to how your life plays out. I'm a believer that everything happens for a reason, everything happens following one path, but this novel kind of shows that like maybe not. And it was very like eye-opening. I didn't really like the characters too much, like I didn't connect to them that well or anything, but the storyline and the ending of like multiple universes and like multiple endings, spoiler alert, she ends up happy in both endings, but she ends up in a different scenario in both endings. And I thought that was so interesting. Like, she's happy regardless, but her life ended up totally different in both. I guess it is a second chance romance because it does have that aspect of like Ethan, but it's just kind of like the dual timeline kind of thing. That is like the big trope. I don't know what kind of trope that is, but it's a trope. It's getting kind of dark in here. Can I like, is it better if I go this way? Yeah, this is a little bit better. You can see my face a little bit more. On to her next like marriage-y kind of book. We have One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and I think this one is my favorite of like the category of like the marriage books that she has, because it is a love triangle. I know people don't like love triangles, I do, and it's One True Loves, plural. One True Loves is about Emma, and she's married to this guy named Jesse who she met in high school. They're high school sweethearts. Their marriage is perfect, everything's going great. You see what happens, you see why Taylor Jenkins Reid gets you. Their marriage is perfect, and then Jesse, 1 year after their marriage, goes missing. Like, he's on a plane and he goes missing, and they assume he's dead because they never find the plane. And 10 freaking years go by that Emma has to heal from this and be like, well, my husband, my high school sweetheart, he's gone, he's dead, I'm never gonna love again. Then she runs into her friend Sam, also from high school, and she's like, oh, Sam, I forgot about him, maybe I'll give him a chance. And they end up getting engaged, and she's finally happy again. After like so many years of trying to heal from losing Jesse, she's happy again. But little does she know, Jesse shows up. Jesse shows up. How? You're gonna have to read the book to find out. But Jesse comes back, and she's engaged to Sam. But obviously she never stopped loving Jesse. That was the love of her life, her high school sweetheart, husband, love of her freaking life, shows up, and she's gotta choose. She's gotta choose. This book, I don't remember how it ends. I'm not even gonna lie, I don't remember how it ends. But it was good. I remember it was really good. I don't know what else to say. Also, my orthodontist is gonna be so mad at me because I refuse to film videos with my Invisalign in because I speak with a lisp. So she's gonna kill me. The next book I don't have because I listened to the audiobook of it, but it's After I Do by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I'll show you what it looks like on Goodreads. Looks like toast, burnt toast. This one is probably the saddest. I don't know. Not the saddest. It has a happy ending, but it's the saddest in the fact that like it reminds me of Colleen Hoover's All Your Perfects, or Sarah Hogel's You Deserve Each Other, because it's about a marriage that isn't going well and they need to fix it. And I hate that because the thought of getting married and then it not working, I don't like it. It follows Lauren and Ryan, and they met really young, they got married really young, they've been together forever, and they just can't move forward with their relationship because they're just not happy. They're just not happy with each other. They decide to take 1 year off of each other. Ryan moves, and they're like, okay, during this year, we're not together. You can see whoever you want, do whatever you want, nothing counts. Like, they're basically just not together. And it's mostly from Lauren's point of view, so you see that she's having a hard time with it. She isn't happy with Ryan, but she's also not happy with the idea of splitting up from Ryan and Ryan seeing other people and all this stuff. And it's so freaking heartbreaking to see that. Like, imagine marrying someone and it just doesn't work. Like, that's so frustrating to me. Like, I don't know why Taylor Jenkins Reid writes such sad books, but that is heartbreaking to me. It's basically a journey of like self-discovery for Lauren because she's only known herself with Ryan for the longest time, so she kind of discovers herself more, and in the meantime she's discovering like how to express herself, how to communicate to Ryan, all that kind of things, and she realizes like she misses him. I'm not going to tell you how it ends. I mean, you can assume how it ends, but yeah, I really recommend this book, even though it was kind of sad and it's not very like exciting of a book. I don't know how to describe this book, which is what I'm supposed to be doing, so that's probably not good. I just think this book is something you need to read because it's kind of the cold hard truth of marriage. I'm not really like super connected to the characters in Taylor Jenkins Reid's like marriage books, like these 4 books that I'm talking about, but I do really like the character of Lauren, and I like her journey to self-discovery. I really did enjoy this book. I gotta sit up now because we're moving on to the Holy Grail Taylor Jenkins Reid novels. So like I said, she has those 4 novels which are like very like marriage relationship based. Then she has her whole side of like historical fiction novels where it's very focused on a single person. I can't begin to tell you, I'm like shaking. I can't begin to tell you how much I love these novels. Every time I've read one of them, I get so connected to the main characters. I'm like tearing up. I love these books. Okay, why am I actually crying? Stop, shut up. Okay, hold on. I'm okay now. I just needed a minute. That was a lot. I'm gonna start off with probably my least favorite of these 4 books. Oh, it's 4 and 4. Also, side note, she also has like a mini like 80-page book called Evidence of the Affair that I didn't read, so it's not actually the ultimate guide to Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's like the 99% guide because I just didn't want to read it. Like, I'm sorry. Anyways, we're gonna start with my least favorite book, Malibu Rising. And to say least favorite, it's still a 5-star read, so you know. So it follows Nina Riva, who is the daughter of Mick Riva, like some like big like rock star guy in the 80s. And all of her books, I told you, are historical fiction on this side. So this one takes place in the 80s in Malibu. And what I love about her books is that, especially these ones, like the historical fiction ones, she follows like a timeline of like when the characters were younger, and you see them progressively like get older and like just develop. Nina is a supermodel and a surfer, and it kind of follows her entire family. She has a bunch of siblings. Her dad is like a big famous rock star, whatever, and kind of their relationship and their dynamics with each other. So this novel opens to Nina's marriage with Brandon, and basically their marriage is over because he's like a famous tennis player and he ends up cheating on her with this like woman named Carrie Soto. We'll get back to her. Nina's just like the strongest character in the world. I know I'm getting off topic, but Nina is probably one of the strongest characters in Taylor Jenkins Reid novels. I know I said she's not my least favorite, but this novel is probably my least favorite of these 4. But she's probably one of my favorite characters. She's like the most humble, sweet, darling person, but she's so hardworking and has been through so much. Okay, it's not even a spoiler if I say this, it's on the inside of the book, but it says, by morning the Riva mansion would have gone up in flames, like about the party. So basically, their house gets set on fire at the end of the novel. Why? You'll find out. But it basically does all follow the one night of the party, but it goes backwards into like everything leading up to it, because the party's where everything like blows up into like out of proportion. Like it just goes crazy at this party. I really don't know how else to describe this book. I'm not doing a very good job of describing these books, but there's not really any tropes to this book, if that makes sense. Like it just follows the siblings and everything they're going through, and it does explain like their backstories and like Mick, like their dad and their mother, like growing up, having the kids. Mick is like a big rock star, so he's not a very good person. He ends up doing a lot of bad things, you know, as a rock star in the 80s would do. I love the fact that it's set in the 80s. I just love these characters. I love them. Next, we're gonna move on to we're just gonna go in order from like least favorite to favorite for these books because I don't know what else to do. We're gonna move on to the most recent book I've read, Daisy Jones and the Six. I put off reading this book for over a year. Like I've had this on my shelf and I just didn't want to read it because I was scared it would disappoint me, because I didn't like the idea of following a band. I don't know why, but in my head I didn't like that idea. Safe to say I read this book in one sitting. So I was wrong. This book follows Daisy Jones and another band called the Six. They were originally called the Dune Brothers, or the Dunn Brothers, or D-U-N-N-E. What is that? I don't know. And it's two separate like kind of stories until they collide and end up like collaborating together. But anyways, it follows like Daisy Jones. She's like really freaking gorgeous, and her voice is like nothing anyone has ever heard. And she's kind of doing her solo thing, writing her songs and everything. It's not really working out for her too much, and one day she ends up getting a chance to collaborate with the Six, which was the Dune Brothers band that they got renamed the Six. And at first, Billy, like the head of the band, he hates Daisy. He's like, what the frick, like this girl's not joining us, blah blah blah. But then he realizes this girl has a voice of an angel. Like, she is what they're missing. So they collaborated on a song, and eventually she ends up joining the band, as it says, Daisy Jones and the Six. And it kind of follows them touring, writing albums, everything. And the style that it's written in is like watching a documentary series. Like, I don't know if you can see, but it's like script style. So like what each person says in the documentary, and they're recapping everything that has happened in their lives. They're like in their 70s now, and they're recapping everything in their lives. You kind of get to see every single individual person in the band, kind of the same way as Malibu Rising did, where you get to see all the sibling stories. You get to see everything happening to each band member. Obviously there's pretty big emphasis on Billy and Daisy, as they're like the head of the band, and Billy has a wife named Camille. She's my favorite character. I love her. I know she gets a little bit of hate, which doesn't make any sense, because I'm really excited for the miniseries that's coming to Prime Video on this novel, because it's gonna be so good. It's also set in the 80s, and I mean, that's just gonna be exciting. That's just gonna be really exciting. Also, I did want to mention, I connected to the character of Daisy Jones so much. Like, I'm still thinking about her every day. I think about Daisy Jones. I finished this book maybe 5 days ago. I'm still thinking about Daisy Jones. Like, every time I read these novels, I like feel like the character for a couple days. So I'm in my Daisy Jones era right now, just so you know. Next, we're gonna move on to, this book is the holy grail. It would be my #1 if not for this, the one that I put #1, obviously, because it's #2. I don't understand what I'm saying. This book is a must read. Like, I will recommend this book to every single freaking person in the freaking universe. Read this book. This book, The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, follows Evelyn Hugo, who is a movie star in the like 50s-ish. Yes, 1950s until 1980s was her career. And it first opens up with her as a young girl and everything that she has to go through to get famous. She like ends up having to like do things like sleep with people to get to the top. And I know Evelyn Hugo's character is hated a lot because she does some things that are questionable and she always puts herself first, but I think she's a queen. I'm not even gonna lie, I think she's a girl boss queen. Obviously she has 7 husbands, and each section you'll see is like a different husband. One thing that's really cool about this is one of her husbands was Mick Riva, the stupid father from Malibu Rising. So the universes are intertwined, which I really love, because you get to see everything that happens. The style of this novel, as I said, Daisy Jones was like script style. This is like interview style. So there is a reporter doing a story on Evelyn Hugo, and Evelyn's like older now, like she's really old, and she wants to write her story on her life. And Evelyn Hugo's life, everyone is so fascinated by it because she was married 7 times and she was this big movie star, and she chose this one girl. She was like, okay, you guys can write my story as long as it's her. She starts writing this story and Evelyn's recapping her life and everything, and you get to see the reporter and her interactions and their talk, as well as like the flashbacks to Evelyn's life and like everything that she went through. Plot twist ending I didn't see coming. I don't know how I didn't, but I didn't see it coming. And I don't know, I just love this book. I love the character of Evelyn Hugo. The fact that she was married 7 times really irked me at the beginning, like before I read the novel, but as you read it, you're like, okay, that makes sense why she got married. Okay. Taylor Jenkins Reid is so good at writing complex characters that are just so damn girl boss independent. Like Evelyn Hugo, Daisy Jones, Nina Riva, girl boss independent freaking strong women. I think if anyone ever asked me what book they should read first if they want to get into reading, this book, because it's so good, so good. Moving on to the last novel, but this is my favorite, all-time favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid novel. I love it so much. I want to be this person. She's my favorite Taylor Jenkins Reid character. I can't get over it. Like, how does she write books this good? Carrie Soto is back, ladies and gents. This book follows, it's in the 80s too, 80s and 90s. It follows Carrie freaking Soto, the best character in the Taylor Jenkins Reid universe. Do you remember me mentioning Carrie Soto before? She was the one who cheated with Brandon, Nina Riva's husband, okay? We'll get back to that. That's barely a plot in this. That's like mentioned once, okay? It's not even a thing. It follows Carrie Soto, and she, from the time she was younger, she has such a really close bond with her dad. And her dad was like very into tennis. He had like an injury, he couldn't play too much, so he coached Carrie and made her the best damn tennis player in the world. And she ended up being like super confident in herself. Like she's like people hated her because she was so sure of herself. She was like, yeah, I'm gonna win. Like, I'm gonna win. And when she won, she was like, yeah, I knew I'd win. Like, she wasn't like, oh my god, thank you so much, blah blah blah. No, she was like, yeah, I deserved it. Which is why I love her. She has a world record for 20 Grand Slams. Anyways, it's like 1994, 6 years after she retires from an injury, and this girl named Nikki is about to steal her title for the most Grand Slams. And Carrie Soto is like, nah, that is not gonna happen. And she comes out of retirement after 6 years, which is insane. She hasn't played professionally in 6 years, and she came out from an injury. So she starts training again with her dad, and she's just so determined. She's like, I'm not gonna lose my title, I'm not gonna lose my title, I'm not gonna lose my title. Trained so hard, and it's not going very well for her at the beginning. Like, she ends up not obviously playing as well as these younger people. This is such a good example of character development. Carrie Soto is not the same Carrie Soto she was at the beginning of the book by the end. Like, she is not the same person. I love her even more at the end. She just learns so much. You'll never meet a character like Carrie Soto with as much character development as she does in any novel you ever read. I promise you that. This book comes out August 30th. I was lucky enough to get an ARC and read it so freaking quickly, but as soon as this comes on shelves, I recommend everyone buy it, because like I said, you'll never meet a character like Carrie Soto. And like, you know what's crazy? When you read a book like this, you want to become Carrie Soto and you want to learn how to play tennis. I wanted to learn how to play tennis after I read this, and I don't even like sports. So that is the power of Taylor Jenkins Reid. She makes you want to do things you don't even ever think that you want to do. That is all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want more videos like this, just comment, like, subscribe, everything like that. If you want to chat more about books with me, follow me on TikTok at Kaylee Klein, my name. We chat about books all day. And also remember to buy Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid on August 30th, 2022. Thank you again for watching, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.